This video was made before Aaron doxed Stardust in Barbarossa. It only had maybe 10 more minutes to go when I put it on hold to make other videos, and just now finished. So the captain made a video about us MGTOW. Let's see what the captain has to say.
Hey everyone, this one is for the ladies.
Oh, does that mean us guys are supposed to tune out? Guys, I'm not sure we're supposed to be watching this one.
Especially if you were doing any kind of research on MGTOW or you have searched something and hopefully
Ladies, if you're researching MGTOW, I'll make our movement really easy to understand. You're fucked. No babies, no wedding day, no free ride, no special treatment, get a job, adopt a cat, and have a nice day.
Especially if you were doing any kind of research on MGTOW or you have searched something and hopefully my YouTube channel is big enough and my fellow internet brethren out there will link to this and hopefully get it up there because I want this message to get out, and it's an important one. And right now, at this moment in time, in early 2015, a concept like MGTOW, abbreviation standing for men going their own way, it's not only embryonic or new. I think a lot of it, not a lot of it, but a lot of people look at and dismiss it as, oh, what nerdy thing is this? Well, I disagree. I do believe MGTOW is going to get bigger. I do believe it is a real thing, so it's not that much is true. May not be huge, may not be totally popular, but it is real, and I do believe it will be growing, and I do believe therefore there are going to be more people down the road looking into it, researching it. So what I want to do is put together a video because as it stands right now, like many other groups, there is a visceral, vitriolic, loud minority.
I know, tell me about it. There is this loud minority who won't stop saying really weird shit like MGTOW just means doing your own thing. Yeah, like wanna marry a bitch? Hey, that's your choice. That's you going your own way. Want to throw a bitch off a cliff? That's MGTOW. It's doing your own thing. Want to get your dick chopped off and be a eunuch? MGTOW baby MGTOW. Want to have sex with animals? If that's your path, your choice, that's MGTOW. Want to lock little kids up in your basement to have as sex slaves? MGTOW baby MGTOW. You're just going your own way, doing your own thing. YOLO, MGTOW, same difference. This notion that MGTOW means doing what you want, like YOLO and shit, I've been hearing that a lot. I think this weird concept of MGTOW is just doing what you want, just doing what you're doing, was kicked off by Paul Elam.
That besmirches and ruins it for the rest of this movement or group, if you want to call it that. So what I want to do is early on put this out there. Not even to define MGTOW, because then everyone gets but to explain these two very general camps that exist within this movement, so that you can separate the wheat from the chaff. You could separate the posers from the real.
You gotta keep them separated.
Yeah, I agree. There are actual MGTOW, and then there are just other people using the label and not getting it, like men who get married and say I'm a man going my own way, and my wife is totally a woman going her own way, and our kids are totally kids going their own way, and my parents are totally parents going their own way. Like, some people don't get it. I wouldn't call them posers though. Because poser implies that you fully understand the thing you are emulating, kinda like some biker poser who gets some fake tattoos, carries around a motorcycle helmet, wears a leather jacket, and talks about why he prefers cruisers over choppers and lies about how he used to ride with the pagans. This guy is a poser because he is imitating a thing he understands. What I am seeing is the equivalent of a guy wearing a sweat vest, talking about how awesome his 18-wheeler is, and how he used to ride with the devil bears. It becomes obvious he just doesn't know what the fuck a biker is. Maybe he has an 18-wheeler, maybe his club was called the Devil Bears. No one knows, but the one thing that is painfully obvious is the guy isn't a biker. So these posers I'm talking about, aren't so much posers, as they are people who just don't understand what MGTOW is, and then you get this crop of people who think MGTOW can stand for whatever they want it to stand for, which basically means they have an obsessive need to wear a label for some reason. I think they are insecure people who just need a fucking label to compensate for their lack of actual character.
And so that you can separate the wheat from the chaff, you could separate the posers from the real. And as I titled this, you can, separate the real MGTOWs from the misogynist MGTOWs. And
wait, are you trying to say there are real MGTOW, and then fake MGTOW, and that the difference here is fake MGTOW are misogynists? If that's what you are saying, then this translates to MGTOW being an anti-misogynist movement. So misogynists can't be MGTOW. Why not? Are vegetarians allowed to be MGTOW? What about Muslims? What about virgins? Where did this rule come in that you can't be MGTOW and be a misogynist? I remember. There was this video where Paul Elam endorses a video by you, the one called Abusing MGTOW, and Paul is bitching about people having a litmus test, referring to the community's decision to not call married guys MGTOW. And so Paul has been going on and on about how this is controlling and conformist and just like the feminists, and Janet Bloomfield sticks her nose in this too.
That are actually establishing a litmus test that you must pass by either saying that you will never marry or you're not in their club. First, I mean, just on its face value, the absolutely ridiculousness of somebody saying that going your own way means you have to go my way is a level of absolute boneheaded hypocrisy, the likes of which I'm only used to from feminists.
This craziness about, you know, if you live with a woman or if you're married to a woman, you be having to pass some sort of ideological purity test, it immediately shows you that they've gone off the same deep end that social justice warriors and feminists have gone off. Tone policing, deciding what specific word you're allowed to use. I mean, how hilarious is that? Come and join a movement called Men Going Their Own Way, and we will tell you down to the last syllable what you're allowed to say.
So let me get all this straight. Paul Elam bitches about MGTOW being a bunch of ideologues due to what he calls a litmus test, all because we don't consider married men to be MGTOW, and don't consider marriage to be a good choice for men. But then he endorses Clarey, who is proposing a litmus test that you aren't a real MGTOW if you are a misogynist. So let me just wrap my head around this. Litmus test that MGTOW can't be married equals bad. Litmus test that MGTOW can't be misogynist equals good? Do you people smoke crack? Or is it you people are so old you've gone senile?
That's why I wanted to address it. So if any women are looking into this and, God, all MGTOWs are bigoted, sexist, misogynist, well, hold on, because you probably ran in one of the more rabid sects of this movement. Anyway, so what?
Who cares? Who cares if a woman reads about MGTOW and gets her feelings hurt? Some bitch, like pretty much all bitches, sitting around going typical male, typical male pig, being a misandrous cunt, and then she comes across some MGTOW blog or channel and hears something that offends her lady ears. Why the fuck do I give a shit? Well, I don't, so why the fuck do you give a shit? Why should any MGTOW give a shit? We're not seeking female approval. Quite frankly, women's feelings toward us is totally irrelevant. One of the fundamental principles of MGTOW is we are not being herded onto the traditional gynocentric path by conforming to what gains us the almighty female approval. Only weak, needy, insecure, pussy-begging white knight blue pill guys give a fuck what women think of them. Oh, and to make all this more ironic, Paul Elam, a self-proclaimed MGTOW, who endorses Clarey, used to call his channel a happy misogynist. Oh, the fucking irony of it all. I swear, you people are smoking some crazy shit.
Anyway, so what is MGTOW? We'll start with that. MGTOW means men going their own way. That's an acronym or abbreviation for it. And no one's trying to define it. No one is. It really just means that, men going their own way. And I don't want to get into the minutia of the philosophy, but it basically means that men do their own thing.
No, that's not what MGTOW is. We're not some new age yuppie YOLO type slogan. YOLO, just do it, MGTOW. Wrong, this isn't a catchphrase. This is a phenomenon of men opting out, breaking away from the herd, removing themselves from the traditional gynocentric path. It is a phenomenon, a philosophy to explain and justify the phenomenon, and an ideology to perpetuate the phenomenon. No marrying the bitches, no begging for their pussy, no begging for their vaginal seal of approval, no white knighting for them, no more being their disposable heroes, no more protecting them, no more providing for them, no more pedestalizing them, no more brother competing against brother to earn their attention and affection, no more centering our lives, our identities, and our self-esteem, on what earns us their approval or access to their pussy. The gynocentric path of traditionalism is one where a man centers his life on trying to get girls to like him. His need to get a girl to like him has him wearing idiotic overpriced trendy clothing, buying stupid expensive jewelry to flash around like baiting a hook, buying expensive cars he can't pay off for a decade. He kisses their ass, nods his head and agrees with everything a woman says. He defends her and womanhood like a good little white knight, finally finds something with a vagina that gives him access to her pussy, gets her knocked up so she gets to have her babies, then proceeds to buy a house and do all the work and pay all the bills to pay for her kids, and keep her all propped up with an easy parasitic lifestyle, all the while she grows forever fatter and more ungrateful, and then divorces him the moment he has money troubles, takes the children, because we are a society that defaults child custody to women, and then continues to be a slave, paying for her children, and paying her alimony under threat of imprisonment, and he doesn't learn from this mistake and he goes on the prowl looking for another Nawalt, always trying to find that elusive Miss Right who won't fuck him over. He wastes his life looking, and it hurts him while benefiting the entire female sex. It's like spending your life parting with every penny you have to play the lottery in hopes of finding that one winning ticket. You're almost guaranteed to spend your life losing, but who knows, you might get lucky, some men do, but the state is always the winner in a lottery. That's the gynocentric path, the path that hurts men and benefits women. We're dropping out, we're going our own way. That, my dear captain, is MGTOW. It does not mean doing whatever you want. Male social justice warriors are doing whatever they want. Male feminists are doing whatever they want. All those he for she's are doing whatever they want. All those men joining the slut walk effort, and telling their fellow man to just stop raping, are doing whatever they want. None of those types of men are MGTOW. So no, Captain, MGTOW is not men doing whatever they want. And even if that was what MGTOW meant, misogynists are just men doing whatever they want.
It came from men getting divorced, men seeing their fathers get divorced. A lot of it comes from divorce courts and alimony and child support and all. You may disagree with it or whatever. I'm just saying that's where it comes from. A lot of it also comes from men who tried dating, tried doing the right thing, trying to be a nice guy, and found out that didn't work. All the sensitive 90s type stuff. So it is this backlash where it's like, screw you guys. Fuck this bullshit. We did it the right way. We did exactly what we're told, and it didn't get us anywhere. Now we find out, the girls like, as always, the big rip dudes and the motorcycle guys and all that other stuff. So after a while doing what they were told, men started to realize that they're finite, and some of them just got put through the ringer. I met 2 guys last night. Holy cow. And they say, forget it. I'm going to die. I'm going to be finite. I'm going to do my own thing. Now, in an ironic sense, this is originally what makes men more attractive. Where men, and you girls will certainly vouch for this, when you have a guy following you around like a puppy dog, oh my god, what do you want, what do you want, what do you want? You're like, get the fuck, that's creepy, that's stalkerish or whatever, and they're just a wimp, they're just a putz. But if you guys got like, you know what, fuck you, sweetheart, I'm gonna go climb that mountain, I'm gonna go run this thing, I got shit to do in my life, and if you want, you're more than happy to tag along and be part of it, but I'm gonna do this. And that's the path of my life that I'm going to go. And women like that because that man's an individual. He's doing his own thing. He's leading his own life.
Who cares if women like that?
So, ironically, as men change the focus from putting women first in their life to myself and I'm going to become an individual, that actually makes someone who's an individual, gives them character, feels that they're just not a supplicant, ass-kissing.
He for she, white knight defending women against evil misogynists.
Brown nose, there's somebody who's like, no, I'm going to do this thing, and then that person becomes an individual, and then it's much easier to fall in love with an individual, because that's what you fall.
Blah blah blah, you're boring me, Pop, say something relevant.
And so they go, and they don't kick women out of their lives, they don't hate women, it's just women are not the number one thing in their lives anymore.
Well, that applies to some MGTOW, then again so does hating women and kicking them out of their lives, that's MGTOW too. Why are you trying to create some litmus test? I keep hearing how bad that is.
The veteran MGTOWs, I call them veterans because they've gone through some kind of experience. They have real world experience getting shot down, not even shooting down, like they've just tried dating a lot of girls and it just wasn't worth it, or, the girl was crazy.
The veteran MGTOW, according to you, are men who have dating experience, and got fed up with women, fed up with the game, and said fuck this, I'm done. And the veteran MGTOW, in your opinion, are fine, okay.
But for what we're calling the misogynist MGTOWs, these guys look at it as an excuse to excuse away their cowardice and their laziness. They're too cowardly to even ask girls out. They're too afraid that they're going to get shot down.
Yeah, I knew a guy who was such a pussy, He used fear of addiction and overdose as an excuse to not shoot heroin. What a pussy. For the guys who are too shy to ask a girl out, so what? Maybe girls should ask them out. I think it's fucked up we have this power dynamic where women are in charge. Women sit back and wait for men to come crawling up to them, begging and begging and begging for approval, and they get to sit back, rejecting men after man. Men do all the work, do all the approaching, take all the risk, do all the begging, thereby putting women in charge, giving them all the power. And if a man, for whatever reason, cowardice or other, decides he's not approaching women, let them come to him, or to hell with them. That man gets scolded as being a coward by people like Aaron. You know, Captain, if all men acted like these so-called cowards, men would be in charge. But that's not cool with you for some reason. Now look, I realize, it's biology. Men are more horny, thus take all the risk, chasing after women, and making the first move, thereby letting women dictate the rules. And I understand that due to biology, we will probably never be a society where men sit back, while women throw themselves at the men, take the chance, do the asking, and chase after men, thereby putting us men in charge of the mating game. I understand that due to biology, this is highly unlikely. However, when a man does sit back, either by willpower, lack of wanting, or cowardice, when men do this, for the love of God, Aaron, don't scold them. Every man who refuses to chase women and make the first move, even if it is out of pure cowardice, is doing more to shift the balance of power between the sexes, than the man who spends his entire life on YouTube or Twitter, bellyaching about how rotten feminism is. Let's just assume you are right, and there is this subset of MGTOW who are young, shy, cowardly, and claim MGTOW as an excuse to not ask out women. Let's just go with that. Those young men, those pimple-faced cowards living in their mother's basement, afraid to ask out a girl, are better human beings than you, Aaron, and just by not making the first move and going to women, but sitting back and waiting for women to come to them, they are doing more to shift the balance of power than anything you have ever done with your hollow, shallow, pointless life. Those ugly, cowardly, socially awkward young men, are my brothers. You gynocentric woman-serving white knight, are an enemy of the male sex. You stand for female empowerment, you little douchebag. Men approaching women, crawling up to them, doing all the begging, is what puts women in control. How dare you scold, mock, and shame the men who rob women of this power by sitting back and not approaching. This, my brothers, is what gynocentrism looks like. Men shaming men into doing what benefits women. You, Aaron Clarey, are pussy whipped. You don't even have to have a woman in your life to be mentally whipped by pussy. You are scolding men who don't worship pussy, don't respect the pussy. You are scolding men who do not approach and beg for pussy. Let me tell all you out there, every fat, every pimple-faced, four-eyed, weak, socially awkward, living in your mother's basement, young man, afraid to approach women, you are, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart, you are infinitely a better human being than this old, washed-up, arrogant, self-absorbed, condescending, gynocentric, pussy-worshipping piece of shit. Aaron, you look down on these men, your brothers. How dare you? Let me tell you something. No amount of shaming, and teasing, and mocking, of these young men, is going to change the fact that you are a worthless loser, trying to fill the void inside of yourself, by putting down others.
They don't have enough courage to approach a woman, and they certainly do not want to lift weights or do whatever that would be necessary to attract a woman. And so they see this, and the ego is strong among both men and women, but with these particularly intellectually weak, I'd even say intellectually dishonest young men, and I'm saying young, but they can be older, but they're typically younger. Here's this perfectly crafted excuse for them not to try. It excuses their cowardice, their intellectual dishonesty, their laziness, and all that. And they just say, well, she wouldn't go out with me anyway. I'm smart enough to go my own way. I'm MGTOW. It's like,
so your theory is that there are these young men, boys if you will, who are afraid of girls, and mask this fear behind excuses of how rotten girls are, so they're afraid of women, but say, well, I don't want to ask a girl out because girls are all rotten, and they have cooties, to heck with girls, and they begin to self-identify as MGTOW, as an excuse to live this lifestyle, to justify a phobia behind the righteousness of an ideology. That's your point, right, Aaron? You know, at first this sounded goofy, however, in all honesty, I think there is something to that. I think it probably counts for a small portion of MGTOW, and I think it accounts for a really small portion of the downvotes you're getting. The bulk of the downvotes is because we have no love for white knights like you who might as well be male feminists, but nonetheless, I think there is something to this, and the reason I say that is because I see the exact same thing in girls all the time. And when I say girls, I mean teenage girls. We've all known, maybe even tried to date, or have dated, one of these teenage girls who held their virginity as so sacred, they weren't ready for sex, they were never ready for sex, and had a very sharp and dismissive sexist attitude towards males because all men are pigs, they all want sex, sex is all they think about, I want a man to love me for me, not just my body, all you men are pigs, and so on and so forth. In actuality, from about age 12, possibly younger, when they found out what sex was, the idea of a long phallic object penetrating their body, scared them. They are scared to get penetrated, thus they fear sex, thus they hate males for wanting sex. These are the females who start that men are pigs for wanting sex bullshit at age 12, and continue this rhetoric until they finally lose their virginity at age 22 or something, and once they get penetrated, and they face that fear, and overcome it, they go from virgins to sluts who are fucking one man after another, and to add salt to the wounds, you and every nice guy that ever dated her, sit back and fume at how much of your teenage time was spent chasing after her ass, only to have her finally give it up to some cocky thuggy jackass who fucked her and ran the next day. I think we all, or most of us, have experienced a woman and seen such similar circumstances. Their hatred of men and hatred of male sexuality is based on their fear of sex and penetration. Look at all the hatred of males that come from girls and young women who are afraid. Where is society's outcry about how these cowardly females demonize males out of their own cowardice? There is no outcry, in fact, there is only praise. Praise that she keeps her legs closed like a good girl. In fact, it's basically egged on by their feminist mother's hatred of men, and their traditionalist father warning them about the evils of boys. We are a society that does not discuss, discourage, or fight cowardly females demonizing boys. But the moment we see something similar from boys, even if it only occurs at a fraction of the rate, we get little white knight pieces of shit like you to shame them and stomp a mud hole in their ass. It's so fucked up. The bulk of who we are as adult men is shaped by our years surrounding puberty and our sexual awakening, that is our teenage years. And those teenage years are profoundly impacted by the harsh and unfair treatment and demonizing of our sex and sexuality, by teenage girls who commit this abuse based on 3 primary mental problems. 1. Resent for having to menstruate every month unlike boys. 2. Fear of sex and penetration from boys. 3. Resent for not being able to orgasm each time intercourse takes place. These 3 things, all of which is based on their vagina, intensifies their penis envy, and I swear to God the penis envy / castration anxiety dichotomy is as real and accurate as it gets, but this causes a deepened penis envy, and envy leads to resent, so they have penis resent, and resent towards the individuals who have the penis that they so envy, men. This penis envy is the basis for most of their neurotic-laced disdain for males. So a man is a person sculpted by the brutal resentful sexist treatment by girls in his youth, who committed this abuse, for lack of any other word, based on their neurotic fear and resent. Fear and hatred of males is misandry, and no one wants to so much as utter one peep against this abuse. No one wants to pipe up and tell these fear of penetration cowardly females to stop demonizing male sexuality and shaming boys. No, no one does. In fact, we just keep patting them on the back for keeping their legs closed, a society that rewards girls for keeping their legs closed. Since the dawn of forever, a woman's worth was her ability to keep her legs closed, a man's worth was his ability to pry them open. We told our daughters she is worthless if she opens her legs, but we tell our sons he is worthless if he can't pry a girl's legs open, and we really jump his shit if he won't even try. I mean, that's what you're doing, Aaron. What is the most horrific insult, the greatest disgrace for a young man? To be gay, to be a faggot, you know, a boy who won't even try to get a woman to open her legs for him. A man's worth is his access to pussy. Tell me again how gynocentrism doesn't even exist, and due to feminism, post-birth control society has modernized to pat girls on the back for choosing to keep their legs closed, or choosing to open them. They call that empowerment. It's win-win for girls, but no one is modernizing the options for boys. A boy is to seek pussy and succeed, or he is a failure of a human, and worse yet, a coward or a faggot if he doesn't even try. Where is your outcry that little girls are demonizing males because of their fear of sex? I don't see that. I just see your outcry that boys are demonizing females because of fear of rejection, and this is a smaller part of the larger problem that all of this falls under. We are a culture that gives females a right to bitch about males for any and every reason. Hell, modern feminism alone is basically just an excuse, a platform, for females to gripe about males, but we have zero tolerance for males griping about females. We call them misogynists, we call them dangerous, we call them butthurt, we call them losers, we call them cowards, We laugh at them, demonize them, and shame them into silence. We seal the lips of men while handing women microphones. And you are a picture-perfect example of this. And that is why I am not even exaggerating when I compare you to a male feminist. Any effort to silence male discontent with females is white knighting, it's sexist against men, serves female empowerment, and many will say you may be a lot of things but male feminist you are not, to which I would remind these people this is an important reason why it is vital that we understand that feminism is not the only enemy to the fair treatment of men. All misandry and gynocentrism is a threat. Us men cannot right the wrongs and achieve fair treatment, until we are free to speak out. And we are not free to speak so long as we are shamed into silence with words like misogynist or shamed with accusations of not being able to get laid. Misogyny, dear Captain? I don't think so. It is time that we as a culture cease to validate misogyny as even being a thing. We can start with the men's movement no longer recognizing misogyny as a real thing.
Cowardice, their intellectual dishonesty, their laziness and all that. And they say, well, she wouldn't go out with me anyway. I'm smart enough to go my own way. I'm MGTOW. It's like, dude, you're 13. You don't even have 3 pubes. You haven't asked out Susie Q to the frickin' Sadie Hawkins dance. What the hell are you going to make? You're not even a man. What the hell are you talking?
Forgive me, Aaron, but are you actually talking to someone right now? You keep looking down like you're keeping some little boy under your desk. It's just kinda weirding me out.
Like, dude, you're 13. You don't even have 3 pubes. You haven't asked out Susie Q to the frickin' Sadie Hawkins dance. What the hell are you going to make? You're not even a man. What the hell are you talking about? And so I made this video called Abusing MGTOW because I saw more and more of this happening. And this is, they're the loud, but they're not the majority. They're just the loud minority. The kids, they don't have jobs. They're busy at home, you know. But again, I saw this, and it's 15, maybe 20% of the quote MGTOW guys that fall into this misogynist MGTOW. And you know, how dare you? I mean, really, I got these kids saying you have no honor, and their whole philosophy, and it shows you the mental acrobatics and cowardice they'll go through to protect their ego. It's like, well, I don't have to walk on a minefield to know it's not good for me. And I don't have to, like, play Russian roulette to know it's a risky game. I saw what happened to so I don't have, why would I waste my time? And without even giving women a shot, they immediately dismiss them, which I view as misogyny. Now, of course, do they hate women? I don't think, like, they actually hate women. But when you start making judgments and dismissing entire segments of the population because of a race or a gender or whatever, that is the definition of bigotry. And that's why I am labeling them misogynist MGTOWs, because if you're a woman, they're like completely dismiss you. And then some of it really is just hate, where it's like, oh, fuck women, they're only good for fucking, and even then you don't want, because then they'll poke holes in the condom. I mean,
poke holes in condoms? That is some crazy paranoid shit. Where would these kids get such an idea?
But for my readership, and in case you didn't know, I want to get it into your boy's head that this is a real thing. No matter how grotesque, no matter how politically incorrect, no matter how preposterous this sounds, women sperm jacking your sperm does and can happen.
Oh, that's right. From you.
They without dating one, and completely ignoring the good women that have been in their lives. I don't know one person who has all bad women in their lives. And to be so warped to dismiss women, and they're all evil, and they're all out for money, and they're all...
I know, not all women are like that. No, Walt.
You could see where I'm calling them misogynist.
Who cares if they're misogynists? We already live under feminist rule where we're hunting around every corner for a misogynist. Why are you adding to it?
And so I did want to differentiate between that, because what's going to get more play in the media, what's going to get more play on the internet, and what you're probably going to be shown down the road as MGTOW gets more and more popular is that it's going to be a hate group. The Southern Poverty Law Center is going to go say, oh, look, MGTOW. And then you're going to besmirch what I estimate to be 80% of these men who are not misogynists, who are not hate-filled, who are not pissed off. So...
I'm sorry, but why does it matter if the radicals of MGTOW get more popularity or besmirch the good name of MGTOW? Who cares what the press sees and broadcasts? Are we running for election or something? As for the SPLC, who cares? They only go after the high money-making organizations they have deemed hate groups. They then launch a lawsuit against that group over weird shit, force the group to bankrupt themselves in court, MGTOW isn't an organization, and so individual people bitching about women on the internet aren't going to get targeted, and if bitching about women ever gets turned into something illegal, there goes practically every damn stand-up comedian.
I've come up with some traits for you to be able to identify the misogynist MGTOW.
Oh yay, this is like Blue's Clues. You tell us what to find and we'll point it out. Go gadget magnifying glass. Alright chief, you tell me what to look for, and I'll find it. I'm always on duty.
And yes, this is just to goozle their gizzle a little bit.
Go gadget gizzle. Yeah, I have no image for that.
But it's important because you're going to see these now. These traits are not 100% correlation coefficient, but just so you can understand, I'm kind of looking for these things. All right, first, the cowardice thing. If you see them where they say, "I don't need to know to walk on a minefield," you have to understand that they're cowards.
Men who don't walk on minefields are cowards, and potentially misogynist MGTOW. Got it, chief?
They do not want. They've never approached a girl. They even have terms like incel, which means involuntary celibacy.
I don't think that's MGTOW. I think that's incel.
They have what is it? The other one, incel, and there was another one. They have terms like meaning total forced loneliness.
You mean true forced loneliness, and that's not MGTOW. That's true forced loneliness.
And you search it, there's websites, like complete ones, and I'm going to get them all pissed off. So it's a true total forced loneliness is that you're such a nerd or such a social outcast that no girl will even give you the time of day. So they'll point to that and they'll say, look, see, I can't, it's out of my control, I can't do anything, right?
People who believe things are out of their control are MGTOW? Okay, I suppose that could constitute some. I'll keep a lookout, chief.
That leads me to the next one, laziness. So like,
okay, I'll look out for lazy people.
Leads to the third variable, third trait. They absolutely lack altruism or selflessness when it comes to women.
Okay, I'll keep a lookout for MGTOW who put themselves ahead of women, because God knows all true MGTOW put women ahead of themselves. What could be more MGTOW?
Thinking of the other person enough to say, what do they want, and then I'm going to deliver it to them. These people, the misogynist MGTOWs and the fat acceptance crowd over at the feminist side of things, are so selfish, they do not want to do that. And you could see it again, if you want to identify it, say, I don't pedestalize women, you're just a blue pill, you just swallowed the blue pill whole, I don't live a life just for pussy. You're going to see these phrases.
So men who don't pedestalize women and live their lives for pussy, are those evil misogynist MGTOW? Are you sure they're the rare misogynist kind? Because I'm pretty sure that's one of the founding principles of MGTOW.
Sneaky suspicion. They're avatars. Avatars? Yeah, they're avatars. You'll never see their faces. I understand, of course, internet privacy, why you may not want to have your face out there. I understand. And there are some really good YouTubers that do have it. But a perfect example is this guy called Barbarossa, or Uncle Barbar. Look him up. I've never seen a picture of him.
Then you doxed him, and then he showed his face in a video, and he's not a bad-looking guy, so myth busted. Look, Clarey, you're not MGTOW. You're more like a PUA bachelor, but you're not MGTOW.
So, and if you really want to find out if we're really haters or lovers, well, you could always come hang out with them. For you, misogynist MGTOWs, that was called charm. That was called flirting. I don't know. It's a concept. You know what? It'd take too long. You'd actually have to take effort to learn something like that. Anyway, that's all we got. Toodles.
You know, Clarey, I am actually really glad you explained what that was, because I had no idea. I don't think you are as charming as you have yourself convinced you are. Toodles.